My name is Paw Amdisen, and I'm a city councillor in Horsens Kommune. I represent a party called SF, which means something like People's Socialist Party. So it's a socialist, somewhat socialist party. But internationally, we are associated also with the Green Party in the European Parliament. So we're a kind of red-green party. I've been in the City Council in Horsens for 2 periods. I was in the City Council from 2010 to 2013, and again from 2017 until now. And I'm standing for election again now. So, well, I'm 45 years old, and I have wife and 3 children. I live in Horsens, in a suburb to Horsens. Politically, I work with, actually, we talked about kindergarten. I'm in the, I'm next chairman of the committee that has to do with children, school children and kindergarten children and vuggestue children also. I don't know what that's called in English actually, but
daycare.
Daycare, yeah. So that was a bit about me. You could say SF is partly a socialist party and partly a green party. So the big issues for us is of course the welfare state, that we have a daycare and a school system that works, and where we are able to fight inequality, that we give all citizens a chance at, all children should have a chance at getting an education. That's a basic principle in Denmark, of course. But we still have inequality in our school system. Although it's free, or it's tax paid, you could say, there's still a lot of inequality in our school system. It has to do. Normally, you talk about economic inequality, but the kind of inequality we are talking about in Denmark is a kind of cultural inequality.
Yeah.
That some kids have better chances at getting good grades in the school because their parents have an education, and then there are other kids who have parents that are uneducated, and there is a kind of inequality there. So I think we have solved a lot of issues concerning economic inequality in Denmark, but not in when it comes to this cultural inequality. There's still some kids have a better chance to get to the university, for instance. So we still have a kind of social inheritance in Denmark, although we have a welfare state with a kind of.
So
economic...
how are you planning to change that? Is it like educating the parents or something like that?
That actually that's an interesting thought. And in our school system, we're trying to build this say partnership with the parents. And then what we also are trying to do is perhaps, I don't know whether you have children in the Danish school system, but the school day is, well, everything is relative, of course, but the school day is in Horsens Kommune is kind of it's a long school day, and the kids have many subjects, and one of the things you could do is actually to perhaps instead of having a lot of subjects and a lot of class. I think it's about 35, 37 hours a week. So if you cut down on the amount of hours that kids go to school, you could actually have 2 teachers in one class instead. So you could have a better eye on the kids who needs help in a way. Does it make sense? Or
yeah, pretty much. So it's basically like having some meetings with parents and.
So that's and that's something we disagree on in the city councils, because some parties think it's important that we have, that the kids go to school for many hours. So the quantity is the main thing for them. So the kids should just have a lot of hours in school. But we would like to look at the quality of what they're getting in the school. So when instead of having one teacher with 28 children, you could have 2 teachers with 28 children. And there would be better room for helping some of the kids that needs help.
Paul, can I just ask a question regarding the 28 children in a classroom? Because that's also something that divides people, whether 28 children in the classroom is a good idea. And also with the inclusion, that you include a lot of children with diagnosis in the classrooms. So what are your opinion about that? How many children are the maximum in a classroom?
Well, actually, I would say about our party nationally says 24 children. That should be the roof, in a way. In our school system in Horsens Kommune, the official limit is 30 children in a classroom.
And when you talk about the classroom, is it based on the square meter per kid, or is it we just call it a classroom because we can just build a building and maybe we call it a classroom? Is it based on the kids, how many kids per square meter, or is it just a classroom? That room.
It's basically in the Danish school system we have a class is an entity within the school. You could have different classrooms, but you go to the same class, first graders, second graders, and so forth. And through this school system, you are about you could have 20. It's different from school to school, but around approximately perhaps 25, 26 children. That's pretty much the standard, I think, in many schools. So you have one class, one class has one teacher in different subjects, of course, but one teacher per subject with around 25, 26 kids. it doesn't give a lot of space to take care of children with. You mentioned, Louisa, children with perhaps a diagnosis, autism, and in Denmark, there's been a kind of silent revolution over the past 10, 15 years, where these children with diagnosis are put into the normal classes, and that's called inclusion. So, and the idea was that all children would benefit from this. That it was good for normal kids to say to be with kids who had perhaps some issues. It would be. Many politicians thought it would be a good idea, and it's a good idea if you have, for instance, 2 teachers per class. Then you have the resources to manage children's with this. What do you call it? Særlige behov.
Special needs.
Special needs, yeah. So you could have, but when you don't have the resources and it's 1 teacher per class, it's very difficult to bring this idea about inclusion into make it reality in a way.
Yeah. Well, I just want to ask just one question. From your introduction, your party sounds good. What from your introduction, what your party is about, the green, the red, fine. But my question is that for a long time here in Denmark, I think this is the only platform I've heard that any of the parties want to include foreigners. So from here, if we vote you into power, can you give us some maybe some plans that you have to include foreigners to hear them and then to be part of you, or your eyes will be you channel to them more, because it has been silent for years now that no party, I haven't seen any party coming out with your idea to include how the Louisa is putting together how to Denmark is happening. So I would be very grateful if you can tell us how you can include your plans for including foreigners in your rulership if you come to power.
Well, it's a good question. In our political system, when it comes to local elections, foreigners actually have the right to vote. So that's the first step towards taking part in the democracy, of course, that you can vote. And if you've been in Denmark, I believe, for 3 years, you can vote in the local elections. And if you can vote in the local elections, you can actually also participate and be a member of a party. So of course, that's one way to make foreigners part of the democracy, is to include them in our democracy, in the parties. Things like this, talking to foreigners about their political rights in Denmark, to participate. But then in your question, I also hear you are asking about how could we include today foreigners in our rule, and in our municipalities, we have different kind of advisory boards
Yeah.
We have advisory boards for people with social difficulties, homeless people, people who have problems with drugs and so on. They have an advisory board that we consult as a city council on issues that concern them. And there are advisory boards for elderly people, ældreråd, as we call them. So we have these kind of again, I'm the word råd. How would you translate that into English? It's a kind of council, actually.
Yeah.
An advice.
Yeah,
It's like advisory.
advisory council. So perhaps that would be an idea to make a kind of advisory council for people who come to Horsens. We have a lot of international people actually in Horsens, students that study at VIA University College, for instance. Actually, also we have Icelandic people who study also at the engineering school. It's been a tradition for that. Once Iceland was actually a part of Denmark, so there's like Faroe Islands. So people came here. We have, of course, also a big group of people from the rest from Eastern Europe who are working in the industry and in the construction. So that would actually be a concrete thing you could do, actually, to listen to what foreigners in Horsens Kommune actually take your advice in a way on how we should make our community more inclusive, how we could include you better in our local community. I think I've been in local elections before, and I don't think that there are that many foreigners that actually vote in the local election.
That is what I'm saying. That is my point, and that I'm arriving at that if we vote you into power, because we are the foreigners in Horsens have been in obscurity for a long time, and as you rightly said, I think Horsens is one of the cities that have most internationals in Denmark. Is among them. I think if you take who's, I think because of VIA, it's popular. So and most people also come and then they remain here. So all these things, that is also good for us to know your ambitions for us, because before we vote or we cast a vote, all these things that you are saying, most of the foreigners doesn't know anything about. They have been here for years. They don't know anything about what you're saying, that after 3 years you can vote. They don't know. So that is the same point I'm arriving at, that if you vote into power, how is this going to be? I just leave it as time, leave it for my colleagues also to ask BS.
Maybe to add on what George is saying.
Yeah.
The point here is how to create awareness to foreigners, because you have said you have been in commune for some time, and maybe you have also seen some of these challenges. What have you done to create awareness for foreigners to be able to see things, or to understand how things are done in Horsens particularly, because that's where you are? And do you have, for example, a concrete case whereby you have helped maybe foreigners to be aware of some things? Because You said some come here as students, some come here to work, and maybe their time is fully occupied. How do you create, or how do you plan to create this awareness for foreigners to know what is surrounding them and what they are, in a way?
Well, I think it's a tough question, because honestly, I would have to say I haven't done enough to include or to make awareness about this. I've participated in some debates. I think it was the last election. There was a debate at VIA University with international in English. And there's a lot of talk about getting people out to vote, because the local elections, it's not in Denmark, our parliamentary elections are well, we have a high percentage that votes in the parliamentary elections, but it's much lower in local politics. So this time, for instance, we had decided that there is going to be a bus that drives a mobile voting poll that could go to VIA, that could go to it will go to Hybenvej, which is kind of it's an area, social.
It's like where mostly foreigners and
there's a high percentage of foreigners living there at Hybenvej in Sundparken, which is also called. So we've decided that a bus should go there. I think we should inform in different languages also. Informing people about that this is a possibility, what your rights are. Right now, there are ads in the newspapers in Danish about the local elections. If in the free local, we have this Wednesday Horsens Posten, which all addresses in Horsens, they get this newspaper. You could have perhaps an ad that could tell in English about the local elections, and perhaps it should be Horsens Kommune that invited to a meeting rally, a voter rally. It's nice that Louise and her NGO has made this possible, but actually, I think the official, the Horsens Kommune, should also invite to meetings in English. I'm afraid that would we will not all agree on that in the city council. You have some parties that think Danish is the only language. You should only inform in Danish, and it's wrong to inform in other languages. Some of the more nationalist parties think it's, but I think it would be a good idea to inform.
At least in English, so it's like more or less foreigners will be included.
Yeah, because as you rightly said, Paul, why, if we boil this down to the issue, why is this people are not participating in the local election? because they don't see anything, they don't get anything benefiting from the local election. They don't even know they are even their local, the person who is standing in for them, and neither would they even know what he's doing for them. So if the same thing as Joseph said, if the awareness is not created, the person doesn't know the use of why should the local, why that, until that why question is answered. Then they will, even if you send the mobile voting, they will not come out to vote. They will just see that, why am I voting? Because I don't know what benefit do I get. I mean, so the question still remains the same. That if the people are not aware what they get, what is the need, because before parliamentary, he's locally, that's what he lives. So you have to see what benefit, what information, what help is he getting locally. Then it boils down the same thing to what maybe his grievances even will get to the parliament through his local elector, through the person who is locally, who represent him locally. But if the person doesn't know that, then it's that. So, Louisa, over to you.
And I think for many it will come as a surprise that 70% of our BNP is actually spent in the municipalities. So it's very, very important. But actually, just getting back to you, Pau, I was curious about, now we have the internationals here. I know so many internationals that are highly educated, but can't find a job within their area. So they end up cleaning or driving taxis and so forth. And some of that could actually be, you can find solutions in the municipalities within job and integration, and look at the internationals in another way. Because for many, the first thing that you meet when you show up at the job center, that's offers to go to the fabrics or the cleaning places, instead of looking at the person behind and say, okay, you have a higher education, we should use that before we think of other things. So your party, do you have any opinion about that?
Yeah. I think the discussion about it often boils down again to language. I think.
But could you be pioneers, Pau? Because I'm thinking about the Indian doctors that arrived 10 years ago. They got a specific language course because we needed doctors. Now we're needing, for example, engineers or others. And I still find engineers working out of their area below their level of education. So could you be a pioneer in Horsens municipality and say, okay, we're going to invest in a Danish program, more intensive, because if people know that there's a job on the other hand, it's different. You dedicate yourself. But if you know that I'm probably going to drive a taxi and my diploma is going to be lost forever, then it's difficult to find the dedication. That's just my experience. I've met so many internationals. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys.
Yeah,
it's the same with me. I just finished my master's degree in Aalborg. It's in building informatics, and I'm still struggling to look for a job. So it takes a while or something. I don't know what's wrong. I mean, I speak fairly good Danish. I can make an interviews and all. It's not the best, but I can understand. But yeah, still it's like difficult. And so now I'm just working some delta job, like part-time jobs here and there, and looking for some possibilities. So yeah, and it's not just me. I know plenty of friends. My flatmate, he's also bachelor's in architecture, but he's working in a warehouse, and he's good what it's like. He's good what he's doing at, and I think many foreigners who are coming to study, what they need is encouragement. Like this is how you could improve yourself, or because I think the Danish language school has been like I'm not saying limited, but recently, like people after the education, they would like to study, but they said, "Oh no, you cannot because you missed your chances and all this," and they're like, "Okay, it's too much hassling," so they don't really get encouraged by studying a language and maybe go for this. Like me, I speak Danish, but it's not the best. And I wanted to study, go for like what's it called, advanced course or something, but I cannot go there because they said that I lost my chances to I don't know what it's like. I cannot do it anymore. And so like for me, there is no other possibility than just talk with friends, my colleagues at work, and not more than that. So yeah, if I get a chance or just to improve well, like my skills and all, and yeah, that would be great. Just small things, and I think that will help foreigners to even vote for any party who is working towards this like this task, and in encouraging foreigner on either getting a job or something. I've seen an example in Sweden. Like what they are doing is okay, qualified foreigners or a local Swedish, they don't write their names, they don't put their pictures in the CV. Is basically they have like a system where you just upload a CV with your qualifications, and definitely, and then they just call you for an interview. It's something that you kind of get like a number. Yeah, so you know there is a barrier between ethnic or whatever it is. Like it's it is eradicated, like it's removed, and it only boosts who are actually willing to work hard. That's my thinking. Maybe if there is something like this in Denmark, then I think they will produce numbers of engineers and professional people. Yeah, I don't have really a good perspective on that area, but that's just I've seen some neighboring countries doing that, and probably it may work also in Denmark.
There's many countries are better at it than Denmark.
No, I'm not saying they're like better. Denmark is also good in its stand where it is, like it's inclusive, it's in own way and everything. But there are some areas they could do better, and
so they're better at giving people an opportunity.
Opportunity. Yes, especially I think maybe foreigner or something. That's just my example. People I know who are educated, who have studied in Denmark, and who are qualified enough. I know they do their job good, and they have got higher grades and this, but they're just struggling to get job. And it's been like this for many years, and so it's either at one point they should not allow foreigners to come and study here, or they do the opposite. It's one or either. Not like okay, we can, you are allowed to come and study in English, and then it's like they.
But it's an really a missed opportunity. You came to Denmark in order to study, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah.
I came to Denmark in order to study and to build. My parents were immigrants. I am immigrant, so it's just been in a family, you know. So yeah, so it's not like we just want to make a betterment where we live, make the world a better place by helping what we know, and yeah, basically that's what we want. We don't want to take any advantage of a country or whatever or anything. It's yeah, and in my competencies, I know many people. Yeah.
But I think this idea that Louisa had about some intense courses in the Danish for people who are highly skilled.
Yes, exactly. I think that will be great. At least for me and my colleagues, they are good at Danish, but they are not at that level where they can maybe call professionals in high level Danish or something.
And I don't know whether this is a kind of a thing in Denmark, but language is a very big issue for Danish people in a way. It's a kind of barrier.
It is, yeah.
And I think in other countries are perhaps in a way more internationally orientated in a way. They're more open to using English, for instance, as a kind of common language.
Yeah, so it's like some other than like Finland. I know, like some of my friends are architects there, and they don't know Finnish, but they got job and they get like 2 years to become better. And there's I think either government is paying or company is paying for their so they can get better in this language. And so it's like if a foreigner are not included in a Danish working environment, so like how they can become a bit better at Danish, for example.
Yeah, I'd like just to add what Pat is saying, because for example, I just give an example for me. When I started, I got a job, and when I started, I didn't speak that, like I knew the basic Danish. And with this job, a professional job, I was able to grow up, and then I can slowly by slowly, I'm getting better for these different terms and everything, and I can say a very big step. And if I compare the time I have been working and the time I have gone to language school, the time I have been working, I have learned so many things than the time I have been going to school, even though the time I have been going to language school, it's a little bit longer time. So I think what Pat is saying, or what I think could be a good idea, is to be given that chance. If you have the education, you can be given that chance, and there is a possibility to grow. Because I'm a witness, I'm working in a company only in Danish and everything in Danish. But when I started, I didn't have this, because I started took my studies in English. So all these terms and different words, it's not the same with the basic Danish. If you know the basic Danish and you know there is different terms to use in your academic work and stuff like this. So it's all about being given that chance. And this one is something which can be, maybe for a good advice, could be connected with the job center. If, for example, a foreign student or students can be given a chance to go to the company, and maybe the company can get maybe half of the pay and the job center get half of the pay, for the determined student or worker can improve in this way. So it can be a win-win, the company and the job center and the international student, because if they get something, then in all parties they're gonna win. And I think in this way it's kind of a way of integration. And as I have said, it's when you get the job you learn more because you are speaking every time, you're having this word every time, you are meeting people every time, you learn the culture, you learn all these different things than when it's good to go to school, then you have the basics. But I will say, even though you go to school, you will not have that level, the level of Danish language required to maybe to go to a workplace until you get to the work environment. Then you grow from there, and then from that, I can say as a good example, I'm growing from there, and I can say my graph is just going up and up compared to maybe that as a politician and as a one representing in Horsens Commune, maybe it could be an idea to give, it's only to give a chance and to find a way whereby everyone can have a win. If it's the company, you can talk with, there are many companies around Horsens and maybe outside Horsens. They can have maybe a win-win and see how things can, maybe it can help more international students. And yeah, because like now when you see at the statistics, they say that there are very big shortage of work professionals.
Yeah.
And like one of us here, he have masters. I know many companies, they are looking for jobs. They are quite big shortage. But when we try to, it cannot be left for foreigners alone to integrate themselves. We need also some kind of support, and then we cannot just go to the language school all throughout, because some of us, we have families to take care of. We need also some income, and that's why sometimes you find it's very difficult to also to concentrate with this the Danish language, because sometimes you have school, you have your another work, and you have, so it is something whereby maybe something have to be compromised in a way to have everyone have a win-win in my thoughts.
Yeah.
And the same thing, to add up to what Joseph is saying, what he's saying is the same thing applies to our children in the Vogels too, in the daycare, whatever. The same thing applies to it, because a child with 2 or 3 languages, it's difficult to pick up the Danish language. So they need to have some special care or special time with the children. Then you see that, and immediately that child picks the Danish language. We have testimony. We know people with that. You can see that even the foreigners' children in Danish are most of them are equally like a Dane. They ask how the child are speaking. But from the beginning, if the politician can allow the teacher, tell them something, that they should exercise patience and have a little bit more time with the children. Then when they get it, it's in their skin. And the whole thing lies up to one, awareness, and then how we the politicians and then the foreigners integrate together.
Some very good ideas. Actually,
and they're free of charge.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of time left, but I would love for you to tell us, what are you fighting for within the municipality of Horsens? Why should these guys and the rest of the international community vote for you? Just some main points.
Yeah. I could say mainly it's, for me, for me, this election and every election is about keeping a good standard of welfare. So that should be the first thing you should know. That I'm fighting for the welfare state and making even better welfare than we have today. That's my number one. Then number 2, it's about of course the climate and the environment. There are big challenges, and we have to take a local responsibility. We have a goal that says we should reduce our emissions to 0 in 2050. I think we should be more ambitious than that. There's just been this UN report on the climate, so I think it's pretty important to get serious about the climate and reduce our emissions. I believe that's the 2 main important things: securing a welfare system that works for all, and this the fight to reduce our emissions before it's too late. Of course, in Denmark, we don't have this same kind of serious environmental or climate problems that we see in some parts of the world with drought and big fires and so on. But we have a challenge with the water instead in Denmark. Too much water from above and the rising sea levels. So we also have to do something about this challenge. So, and then I'm just say I've been very happy to talk with you and to listen to your gotten very good inputs from you. What we should do in order to make people come from all other parts of the world part of this community that we have. I don't think we're good enough at that today. So thank you very much for the input.
Yeah, thank you too for your time.
Thank you too. We are glad that you have come through Louisa also you have come to know or hear or come to this level to also hear our views. I know that when you get there, you also remember and then help the community, because as they are good people. The foreigners, some of them are very good in their professional work, which Denmark will also get to a better place. You know, if you include all these people also. So thank you.
And unfortunately, my English is a bit rusty. It's been a long time since I've spoken English. So.
Never mind. It's good. Yeah. Never mind that. Yeah.
No,
that's
good.
how we started struggling to speak Danish, and then
The Danish also.
So it's about a matter of time, but I think it's much better. We can understand, and everything is understandable, and it's straight to the point. So I think it's quite okay.